The morning sun cast long shadows across the training grounds of the Galactic Defense Academy on Centauri Prime. Hundreds of recruits from dozens of different worlds moved in perfect formation, their bodies adapting to the slightly heavier gravity of the planet. Among them, Lisa Martinez struggled to keep pace with her unit. She wiped sweat from her forehead as she completed another lap around the massive training field. Her legs burned with effort and her lungs felt like they were on fire. Around her, the other recruits barely seemed to notice the demanding physical exercise. The Vraxian warriors towered above everyone else, their thick blue skin glistening but showing no signs of fatigue. The Calarian scouts moved with fluid grace, their forearms pumping in rhythm as they easily outpaced the humans. Even the pale Zephyrians, known more for their mental abilities than physical strength, seemed to handle the training better than Lisa. "Keep up, Martinez," shouted drill instructor Kane, a human from the military colonies who had little patience for weakness. "You're holding back the entire unit." Lisa pushed herself harder, her heart pounding in her chest. She had dreamed of joining the Xenobiology Corps since she was a child on the agricultural colonies of New Eden. Her grandmother had filled her head with stories of brave scientists who studied alien life forms across the galaxy. But now, 3 weeks into basic training, Lisa wondered if she had made a terrible mistake. The other human recruits in her unit kept their distance from her. Jake Morrison, a tall young man from the military colonies, had made it clear from the first day that he wanted nothing to do with her. During their first meal together, he had looked at her simple farm clothes and shaken his head. "Great," he had muttered to his friend Danny Price. "They're letting farm girls into the corps now. This is going to make all of us look bad." Lisa had tried to ignore the comment, but it stung. She knew she was different from the other humans here. While they came from advanced colonies with military training programs and top-rated schools, she had grown up helping her grandmother tend to crops and livestock. Her education had come from old books and basic computer programs, not from the fancy academies that most of the other recruits had attended. The training session finally ended, and Lisa collapsed onto a bench near the edge of the field. Her water bottle was empty, and her uniform was soaked with sweat. She watched as the other recruits gathered in small groups, talking and laughing about their performance. No one approached her. Pathetic display recruit. Lisa looked up to see Commander Kethver standing over her. The massive Vraxian warrior was covered in battle scars, and his yellow eyes showed nothing but disgust. His voice was a low growl that made Lisa's spine tingle with fear. "Sir," she managed to say. "Your species continues to disappoint me," Kethver said. "Humans are weak, slow, and utterly useless in real combat situations. I have seen house pets with more natural ability than you." Lisa felt her face burn with shame. She wanted to defend herself, to explain that she had improved since the first day, but the words stuck in her throat. Commander Kethver was one of the most respected officers in the Galactic Defense Force, and his opinion carried weight throughout the Academy. "I will be watching you closely, Martinez," the commander continued. "The moment you prove to be a waste of resources, I will personally see to it that you are sent back to whatever farm you crawled out of." With that, he turned and walked away. Leaving Lisa alone on the bench, she fought back tears as she watched the other recruits file toward the dining hall for their evening meal. The thought of sitting alone again, listening to the whispered comments and barely contained laughter, made her stomach turn. Instead, she decided to take a different path back to the dormitories. The academy was built like a small city, with dozens of buildings connected by covered walkways. Lisa had discovered that by taking the longer route through the research sector, she could avoid most of the other students. As she walked through the quiet corridors, she passed laboratories and classrooms where advanced students worked on their projects. Through one window, she saw a group of Zephyrian students using their telepathic abilities to communicate with small, floating creatures that looked like jellyfish made of light. In another room, Vraxian students were studying the molecular structure of weapons taken from defeated enemies. Lisa paused at a door marked Xenobiology Research Lab 7. Through the thick glass, she could see tanks filled with water and strange glowing liquids. Creatures she had never seen before moved slowly through the artificial environments. Some looked like fish with too many eyes, others resembled plants that seemed to reach toward the light. In one corner, a tank held what appeared to be a small dragon, its scales shifting color as it swam through the water. Beautiful, aren't they? Lisa spun around to find Dr. Alan Foster standing behind her. The middle-aged human had gray hair and kind eyes, though he looked tired. He was one of the few human professors at the academy, and Lisa had heard other students speak of him with respect. "I'm sorry," Lisa stammered. "I didn't mean to spy. I was just walking by and it's fine," Dr. Foster said with a smile. "I often find students looking through that window. Most people find alien life forms fascinating, even if they're studying other subjects." Lisa looked back at the tanks. "They're amazing. I've never seen anything like them." "Each one comes from a different world," Dr. Foster explained. "We study them to better understand how life develops under different conditions. The more we learn about alien biology, the better we can work with other species in the galaxy." "Is it true that some of them are dangerous?" Lisa asked. Dr. Foster's expression grew more serious. "Some are. We have special facilities for the more dangerous species. But danger is often just misunderstanding. Many creatures that seem threatening are simply trying to survive in an environment they don't understand." Lisa nodded, thinking about her grandmother's stories. The old woman had always told her that fear came from not knowing something, and that the best way to overcome fear was to learn and understand. "Are you thinking of applying to the xenobiology program?" Dr. Foster asked. "I hope to," Lisa replied, "but I'm not sure I'm good enough. My test scores aren't very high, and I'm having trouble with the physical training." Dr. Foster studied her for a moment. "What's your name, recruit?" "Lisa Martinez, sir." "Well, Lisa Martinez, let me tell you something. I've been teaching here for 15 years, and I've learned that the best xenobiologists aren't always the ones with the highest test scores. Sometimes the most important quality is the ability to see things differently, to approach problems with an open mind." Lisa felt a spark of hope. "Really? Really? Don't let the others discourage you. Keep working hard, and remember that every species brings something unique to the galaxy. That includes humans." As Dr. Foster walked away, Lisa looked back at the tanks one more time. The small dragon creature had moved closer to the glass and seemed to be watching her. Its large eyes were a deep blue color, and Lisa could have sworn she saw intelligence in them. The next morning brought another round of physical training, followed by classes on galactic history and basic xenobiology theory. Lisa struggled through the lectures, taking notes as fast as she could while trying to understand concepts that seemed to come naturally to students from more advanced worlds. During lunch, she sat alone at a table in the corner of the dining hall. The food was nutritious but bland, designed to meet the dietary needs of dozens of different species. As she ate, she could hear Jake Morrison talking loudly at a nearby table. "I heard they're looking for volunteers for the advanced training rotations," he was saying. "I'm going to apply for the combat unit. Show them what humans are really capable of," his friend Danny laughed. "Better than being stuck with the creature handlers. I heard they're desperate for people willing to work with the dangerous specimens." "Only the losers end up there," Jake replied. "People who can't cut it in the real programs." Lisa finished her meal quickly and left the dining hall. As she walked back to her dormitory, she thought about Dr. Foster's words. Maybe the creature handling rotation wouldn't be such a bad thing. Maybe it would be exactly what she needed to prove herself. That evening, she filled out an application for the Apex Predator Containment Unit. As she submitted the electronic form, she felt a mixture of excitement and fear. She had no idea what she was getting herself into, but she knew it had to be better than continuing to fail at everything else. The next day, her assignment was posted. While other recruits received positions in combat training, communications, and engineering, Lisa's name appeared on the list for the Apex Predator Containment Unit. When Jake Morrison saw the posting, he laughed out loud. "Looks like Martinez is going to be monster food," he said to his friends. I give her a week before she transfers out. Lisa ignored the comments and focused on the information packet she had received about her new assignment. The Apex Predator Containment Unit was located in the most secure section of the Academy, where the galaxy's most dangerous creatures were studied under maximum security conditions. The packet warned that working with these specimens required extreme caution and that several researchers had been injured or killed in recent years. As she read through the safety protocols and equipment requirements, the elevator descended deep into the Academy's underground levels, far below the training grounds and classrooms where Lisa had spent her first weeks. The walls changed from the bright white of the upper floors to dark metal reinforced with thick barriers. Red warning lights flashed at regular intervals, and Lisa could hear the hum of powerful energy shields even through the elevator's thick walls. Lisa clutched her new security badge and equipment list as the elevator finally stopped. The doors opened with a soft hiss, revealing a corridor that looked more like a military bunker than a research facility. Armed guards stood at regular intervals, their weapons ready and their eyes constantly scanning for threats. "You must be the new recruit," said a voice behind her. Lisa turned to see a woman in her 30s with short brown hair and tired eyes. She wore the same research uniform as Lisa, but hers was marked with senior technician badges. "I'm Carol Davis," the woman said. "I'll be showing you around for your first week. Dr. Foster said you requested assignment to the unit." "Yes, ma'am," Lisa replied. "I'm Lisa Martinez." Carol looked her up and down, taking in Lisa's nervous posture and fresh uniform. "How old are you, Martinez?" 19, ma'am." Carol shook her head. 19, great. Another kid who thinks working with monsters is going to be exciting. She started walking down the corridor, and Lisa hurried to keep up. "Let me guess. You watch too many adventure movies about brave scientists taming alien beasts?" "No, ma'am," Lisa said. "I grew up on a farm. I'm used to working with animals." "That can be dangerous." Carol stopped walking and turned to face her. "Animals? Kid, what we have down here aren't animals. They're nightmares that can kill you in ways you can't imagine. The creature in Lab 7 can phase through solid matter. The thing in Lab 12 can make you forget your own name just by looking at you. And don't even get me started on what's in the maximum security wing." They continued walking, passing heavy doors marked with warnings in multiple languages. Lisa could hear strange sounds coming from behind some of the doors. In one room, something was making a low humming noise that made her teeth ache. In another, she heard what sounded like metal being torn apart. "The first rule," Carol continued, "is that you never ever go into a containment area alone. The second rule is that you follow every safety protocol exactly as written. The third rule is that when I tell you to run, you run. No questions, no hesitation." They stopped in front of a door marked Briefing Room 3. Carol used her badge to open it, revealing a small room with chairs arranged around a large screen. Several other technicians were already seated, including 2 humans and a Calarian with silver blue skin. "This is Martinez," Carol announced. "She's the new recruit." The other technicians looked at Lisa with expressions ranging from sympathy to amusement. The Calarian, who introduced himself as Zektar, seemed particularly interested in her. "Another human," he said in accented standard. "They keep sending humans to work with the most dangerous specimens. I wonder why." One of the human technicians, a man named Pete Williams, laughed. "Because humans are expendable. If something goes wrong, the Academy doesn't lose a valuable Vraxian or Zephyrian researcher." Lisa felt her face flush with anger, but before she could respond, the door opened and Dr. Foster entered. Behind him came a man Lisa had never seen before, tall and thin with gray hair and cold eyes. "Everyone, this is Dr. Alan Foster," Carol announced. "He's taken over as head of the unit." Dr. Foster looked different from when Lisa had met him in the corridor. His kind smile was gone, replaced by a hard expression that made him seem years older. His eyes swept over the assembled technicians and settled on Lisa. "You're Martinez," he said. It wasn't a question. "Yes, sir?" "I hope you understand what you've gotten yourself into. This isn't a petting zoo. 3 researchers have died in this unit in the past year. All of them were more experienced than you, Lisa swallowed hard. I understand, sir. Dr. Foster activated the wall screen, which showed a floor plan of the containment facility. Red dots marked the locations of the most dangerous specimens. We currently house 17 class of predators, he began. Each one is capable of killing multiple armed guards within minutes. They're kept here because the military wants to study their abilities, but they're scheduled for termination as soon as we extract the information we need. The screen changed to show a photograph of a creature that made Lisa's breath catch in her throat. It looked like a massive panther, but wrong. In every possible way. Its fur was completely black, so dark it seemed to absorb light. Its eyes glowed with a sickly green light, and its claws looked like they could cut through steel. This is Subject 7 Alpha, Dr. Foster continued. We call it the Shadow Maw. It was captured from a dead world in the Outer Rim, the only survivor of its species. It has the ability to phase through solid matter, making it nearly impossible to contain. It also projects an aura of fear that can paralyze most sentient beings. Lisa stared at the image. Despite the creature's terrifying appearance, she found herself feeling something unexpected. It wasn't fear exactly, but a sense of sadness. The creature's eyes, even in the photograph, seemed to hold intelligence and what might have been pain. The Shadow Maw has killed 3 of our researchers, Dr. Foster said. Dr. Harrison last month, Dr. Kim 6 months ago, and my former partner Dr. Rachel Stone almost a year ago. Each time it used its phasing ability to escape containment and attack when they least expected it. Carol spoke up. What about the electromagnetic containment system? Doesn't that prevent it from phasing? It does, but the system needs regular maintenance. Every time we shut it down, even for a few minutes, the creature becomes extremely agitated. It's learned to recognize the sound of the system powering down, and it immediately attempts to escape. Dr. Foster changed the image to show the containment cell. It was a cube-shaped room with walls covered in strange devices that hummed with electrical energy. In the center, the Shadow Maw paced back and forth, its movements restless and angry. Martinez, Dr. Foster said suddenly, you'll be working as general support for the Shadow Maw project. Your job is to maintain equipment, record data, and stay out of the way. You are not to approach the containment cell under any circumstances. You are not to attempt to interact with the creature. You are not even to look at it directly unless absolutely necessary. Yes, sir, Lisa replied. Good. The rest of you know your assignments. We have 2 weeks to complete our study before the creature is scheduled for termination. I want comprehensive data on its phasing ability, its fear projection, and its intelligence level. Questions? There were no questions. The technicians filed out of the briefing room, leaving Lisa alone with Dr. Foster. Martinez, he said quietly, I want you to understand something. I didn't choose to take this position. I was assigned here after my previous research partner was killed by that thing. I have no intention of losing another person under my command, Lisa nodded. I understand, sir. Do you? Because you have a look in your eyes that I've seen before. It's the same look Rachel had when she first saw the Shadow Maw. She thought she could understand it, maybe even help it. She was wrong, and it cost her life. Dr. Foster moved closer, and Lisa could see the pain in his eyes. These creatures aren't misunderstood pets waiting for someone to show them kindness. They're killers that have evolved to be perfect predators. The Shadow Maw isn't suffering in that cage, it's planning. It's waiting for the right moment to add another victim to its list. Yes, sir, Lisa said again, though she wasn't sure she completely believed him. Good, report to Lab 7 tomorrow morning at 00:00. Carol will show you your duties. And Martinez? Don't get attached. We're not here to save these things. We're here to learn from them before they're destroyed. Lisa left the briefing room with her mind spinning. As she walked back toward the elevators, she passed the entrance to Lab 7. Through the thick glass window, she could see the electromagnetic containment field flickering with blue light. Beyond it, in the shadows of the cell, she caught a glimpse of green eyes watching her, For just a moment, she stopped walking. The creature's eyes seemed to focus on her, and she felt something she couldn't quite identify. It wasn't the fear that Dr. Foster had described. It was something else, something that reminded her of the animals back on her grandmother's farm when they were hurt or frightened. "Martinez!" Carol's voice snapped her back to attention. "What did I tell you about staring at the specimens?" "Sorry," Lisa mumbled, hurrying to catch up. As they rode the elevator back to the upper levels, Carol shook her head. "I can already tell you're going to be trouble. You've got that look about you. Like you think you're going to be the one to crack the code and make friends with the monsters." Lisa didn't respond, but as the elevator climbed toward the dormitory levels, she couldn't stop thinking about those green eyes. Despite everything Dr. Foster had said, despite the warnings and the fear, she found herself looking forward to tomorrow morning. She had a feeling that there was more to the Shadow Maw than anyone realized, and she was determined to find out. What it was, that night she lay in her narrow dormitory bed, staring at the ceiling and thinking about the creature in Lab 7. Outside her window, she could hear the other recruits laughing and talking about their assignments. Lisa's first week working in Lab 7 passed in a blur of equipment checks, data recording, and careful observation. Every morning at 0800 hours, she would descend to the containment level, put on her protective gear, and begin her assigned duties. Her job was simple: maintain the monitoring equipment, record the Shadow Maw's behavior patterns, and clean the instruments used by the senior researchers. The work was boring, but Lisa didn't mind. It gave her plenty of time to watch the creature. In its containment cell, the Shadow Maw spent most of its time pacing back and forth, its massive form moving with deadly grace. Sometimes it would stop and stare directly at the observation window, as if it knew the humans were watching. Dr. Foster had been right about one thing. The creature was clearly intelligent. Lisa could see it in the way it moved, the way it studied its environment, and the way it seemed to test the electromagnetic barriers at regular intervals. It wasn't just a mindless predator. It was thinking, planning, learning, but Dr. Foster had been wrong about something else. The creature didn't seem to be planning an attack. Instead, it seemed to be trying to understand its situation. Lisa watched as it approached different parts of the containment field, tilting its head as if listening to sounds that humans couldn't hear. "Martinez, stop staring at the specimen and focus on your work," Carol said for the third time that morning. Lisa turned back to her equipment checklist, but she couldn't stop thinking about what she had observed. The Shadow Maw's behavior followed patterns that the other researchers had missed. It became more agitated when the electromagnetic field was at full power, but it grew calmer when the field was briefly reduced for maintenance. "Carol," Lisa said carefully, "has anyone considered that the containment field might be causing the creature distress?" Carol looked up from her datapad with an expression of disbelief. "Distress? It's a killing machine, Martinez. It doesn't feel distress, it feels hunger. But what if the electromagnetic field is painful to it? What if that's why it keeps trying to escape? The field is designed to prevent it from phasing through the walls. If it experiences some discomfort, that's a small price to pay for keeping it contained." Lisa wanted to argue, but she knew Carol wouldn't listen. None of them would listen. They had already decided that the Shadow Maw was nothing more than a dangerous animal that needed to be studied and destroyed. That afternoon, Dr. Foster announced that they would be conducting a medical examination of the creature. Lisa watched from the observation booth as a team of researchers entered the containment area wearing full protective suits. The Shadow Maw immediately backed against the far wall, its green eyes glowing brighter as the humans approached. "Increase the field strength," Dr. Foster ordered. "I want that thing completely unable to phase." The electromagnetic field hummed louder, and Lisa saw the creature's entire body tense with what looked like pain. It let out a low sound that seemed to come from deep in its chest, a sound that made Lisa's heart ache. "It's fighting the sedative," one of the researchers reported. "We need to increase the dosage." "No," Dr. Foster said firmly. "We've already lost 2 specimens this month to overdoses. Use the neural disruptor if necessary." Lisa watched in horror as they activated a device that sent painful electrical shocks through the creature's body. The shadow maw collapsed to the floor, its muscles twitching uncontrollably. But even as it lay there, helpless and in pain, its eyes remained focused on the humans around it. There was no hatred in those eyes, no desire for revenge. There was only sadness and confusion. The examination lasted 2 hours. When it was over, the creature lay motionless in the corner of its cell, breathing heavily. Lisa could see small burns on its fur where the neural disruptor had made contact. "Excellent work," Dr. Foster announced to the team. "We've gathered enough data to begin understanding its cellular structure. Martinez, you'll be responsible for monitoring its recovery." Lisa nodded, but inside she felt sick. She had watched them torture a living being in the name of science, and she had done nothing to stop it. That evening she stayed late in the lab, long after the other researchers had gone home. She told herself she was just checking on the creature's condition, but the truth was that she couldn't stop thinking about the look in its eyes during the examination. The shadow maw lay in the same corner where it had collapsed, its breathing slow and labored. Lisa sat down in front of the observation window and really looked at it for the first time. Without the constant pacing and the bright glow of its eyes, she could see how thin it was, how its fur had lost its shine. It wasn't the terrifying predator that Dr. Foster had described. It was a suffering creature, alone and afraid. "I'm sorry," she whispered to the glass. "I'm sorry they hurt you." The creature's ear twitched, and slowly it lifted its head to look at her. For a moment, they stared at each other through the transparent barrier. Lisa felt something she had never experienced before, a sense of connection that went deeper than words. Without thinking, she began to hum softly. It was a melody her grandmother had taught her, a simple tune that the old woman had said could calm any frightened animal. Lisa's grandmother had been a refugee from Earth's first interstellar war, and she had carried songs from the old world that spoke of peace and comfort. The effect on the shadow maw was immediate. Its head lifted higher, and the green glow in its eyes softened. It moved slowly toward the observation window, not with the predatory grace Lisa had seen before, but with curiosity and what might have been hope. Lisa continued humming, and the creature settled down directly in front of the window. It tilted its head, listening to the melody with an expression that seemed almost peaceful. For the first time since it had been captured, the shadow maw looked calm. "What are you doing in here?" Lisa spun around to find Dr. Foster standing in the doorway, his face dark with anger. She had been so focused on the creature that she hadn't heard him enter. "I was just checking on the specimen, sir," she said quickly, making sure it was recovering from the examination. Dr. Foster looked from Lisa to the creature, which had immediately moved back to the far corner of its cell. "And what was that sound you were making?" "I was humming, sir. Sometimes music helps calm injured animals." "That thing is not an animal, Martinez. It's a weapon that has killed 3 of my colleagues. If I find you trying to calm it again, you'll be transferred out of this unit so fast your head will spin." "Yes, sir," Lisa said, but she couldn't hide the defiance in her voice. Dr. Foster studied her for a long moment. "You're just like Rachel," he said finally. She thought she could understand it too. She spent hours watching it, convinced that it was just misunderstood, and you know what happened to her. What did happen to her? Lisa asked. Dr. Foster's expression grew cold. "She was working late one night, just like you are now. There was a power failure that shut down the containment field for exactly 37 seconds. That was all the time it needed. We found her body the next morning, torn apart by claws that could phase through solid matter." Lisa felt a chill run down her spine, but she forced herself to ask the question that had been bothering her. "Was she alone when it happened?" "What do you mean?" "Was she alone in the lab, or was she with the creature when the power failed?" Dr. Foster's jaw tightened. "She was alone. The creature was in its cell, just like it is now." "Then how do you know it killed her?" "If the power failure only lasted 37 seconds, how could it have gotten out of the cell, killed her, and gotten back in?" "Because there's no other explanation," Dr. Foster snapped. "These creatures are killers, Martinez. They don't feel sympathy or gratitude or any of the emotions you're trying to project onto them. They feel hunger and they feel the need to kill, that's all. But as Dr. Foster stormed out of the lab, Lisa found herself wondering if he was trying to convince her or himself. She looked back at the shadow maw, which had moved close to the window again. Its green eyes met hers, and she saw something there that Dr. Foster refused to acknowledge. The creature was trying to communicate over the next few days. Lisa began to notice things that the other researchers had missed. The shadow maw's behavior wasn't random. It followed patterns that seemed to respond to the electromagnetic field, the time of day, and the presence of different people. When Dr. Foster was in the lab, the creature became agitated and aggressive. When Carol was there, it remained neutral. But when Lisa was alone with it, it grew calm and seemed to watch her with interest. Lisa started keeping a private journal of her observations, recording details that weren't included in the official reports. She noted that the creature's vocalizations weren't just random sounds but seemed to follow musical patterns. She observed that it appeared to respond to certain frequencies and became distressed when exposed to others. Most importantly, she noticed that the creature never showed aggression toward her. Even when it was pacing angrily because of the electromagnetic field, it would stop and become calm when she approached the observation window. On Friday evening, Lisa was working late again, updating her secret journal when alarms began blaring. Throughout the facility, red lights flashed in the corridors and she could hear running footsteps and shouting voices. "Containment breach in Lab 7, someone screamed over the intercom. "All personnel evacuate immediately." The security team stood frozen in the doorway of Lab 7, their weapons raised but their fingers hesitant on the triggers. Lisa sat perfectly still beside the shadow maw, one hand resting gently on the creature's massive head. The predator that had killed 3 researchers was purring softly, its green eyes half closed in what looked like contentment. "Nobody move," whispered Captain Torres, the head of Academy Security. "Martinez, can you hear me?" "Yes, sir," Lisa replied quietly, not wanting to startle the creature. "We're going to get you out of there." "Just stay very still." "I'm fine, Captain. The creature isn't going to hurt me." One of the security guards laughed nervously. "Kid, that thing has torn apart 3 people. You need to get away from it right now." But before anyone could move, Commander Kethver pushed through the crowd of security personnel. The massive Vraxian warrior took one look at the scene and his yellow eyes widened in disbelief. "Impossible," he growled. "That creature should have killed her the moment it escaped containment." Dr. Foster arrived seconds later, his face pale with shock and anger. "Martinez, get away from that thing immediately. That's an order." Lisa looked up at him, her hand still resting on the shadow maw's head. "With respect, sir, I don't think that's necessary. The creature isn't aggressive toward me. It's manipulating you," Dr. Foster snapped. "These predators are intelligent enough to use deception. It's waiting for the right moment to strike." As if responding to the hostile tone in Dr. Foster's voice, the shadow maw lifted its head and looked directly at him. Its eyes began to glow brighter, and a low rumble came from deep in its chest. Several of the security guards took a step backward. "See?" Dr. Foster said. "It's showing its true nature now." Lisa noticed something the others had missed. The creature wasn't looking at her with aggression. Its attention was focused entirely on Dr. Foster and the armed guards. It was protecting her, not threatening her. "Please," Lisa said, "everyone needs to calm down. The creature is responding to your fear and hostility." Commander Kethver stepped forward, his hand on his weapon. "Martinez, you will move away from that predator immediately, or I will have you removed by force." "Sir, I respectfully request permission to remain with the creature until we can understand what's happening here." The Vraxian commander's face darkened with rage. "You respectfully request?" "You are a recruit, Martinez. You don't get to make requests when dealing with a class of predator." News of the incident spread through the Academy faster than anyone could have imagined. Within hours, the story of the human recruit who had somehow survived direct contact with the shadow maw was being discussed in every dormitory and classroom. Jake Morrison and his friends gathered around their computer terminals, watching the security footage that had somehow been leaked to the Academy network. "This is impossible," Jake said, shaking his head. "That thing should have killed her in seconds." "Maybe she has some kind of special ability," suggested Danny Price. "Like the Zephyrians with their telepathy." "She's a farm girl from the colonies." Jake replied, "What special ability could she possibly have?" But word of the incident reached more than just the students. Admiral Chun, the head of the Galactic Defense Academy, arrived the next morning with a team of military scientists and xenobiology experts. She was a stern woman in her 50s who had built her reputation on making tough decisions quickly. "I want a full report on everything that happened," Admiral Chun announced to the assembled staff. "And I want to know how a 19-year-old recruit managed to survive contact with our most dangerous specimen." Dr. Foster provided his account of the events, emphasizing the danger of the situation and his belief that Lisa had simply been lucky. "The creature was probably confused by the containment breach," he explained. "It may have been disoriented enough to delay its attack." But Admiral Chun wasn't satisfied with that explanation. "Show me the security footage," she ordered. The footage was clear. It showed Lisa sitting calmly with the Shadow Maw, the creature obviously relaxed and peaceful in her presence. When the security team arrived, the predator only showed aggression toward them, never toward Lisa. "This is unprecedented," said Dr. Kim Sato, one of the military's top xenobiology experts. "We've never seen a class of predator show this kind of selective behavior." Admiral Chun studied the footage for several minutes before making her decision. "I want a controlled test. We need to determine if this was a one-time incident or if there's something more significant happening here." "Doctor," Foster immediately protested. "Admiral, putting Martinez back in contact with that creature is extremely dangerous. We could lose another researcher." "The creature is scheduled for termination in 1 week," Admiral Chun replied. "If there's even a chance that we can learn something valuable about predator behavior, we need to take it." Set up a controlled test. Environment. Lisa spent the next 2 days in isolation while the military scientists designed their experiment. She was questioned repeatedly about her background, her training, and her interactions with the Shadow Maw. They ran medical tests to see if she had any unusual biological markers that might explain the creature's behavior. "Tell us again about your childhood," Dr. Sato said during one of their sessions. "Did you have any unusual experiences with animals?" "Not really," Lisa replied. "My grandmother and I took care of livestock on our farm. Some of the animals could be dangerous, but I never had any problems with them." "What about your grandmother? Did she have any special abilities?" Lisa thought about the old woman who had raised her, remembering the songs and stories that had filled her childhood. She was a refugee from Earth's first interstellar war. She used to say that music could calm any frightened creature, but I don't think that's what you mean by special abilities. Dr. Sato made notes on her tablet. "Tell me about these songs." "They were old songs from Earth, from before humans went to the stars. My grandmother said they carried the memories of peace from a time when all of humanity lived on one world." The scientist looked up with interest. "Do you remember any of these songs?" Lisa nodded and hummed a few bars of the melody she had used. With the Shadow Maw, Dr. Sato recorded it carefully, then played it back through the room's speakers. The sound was simple and haunting, unlike anything in the Academy's musical databases. "Fascinating," Dr. Sato murmured. "We'll need to analyze these frequencies." On the third day, Admiral Chun announced that the test was ready. A special chamber had been constructed adjacent to Lab 7, designed with multiple layers of containment and emergency protocols. Lisa would be placed in the chamber with the Shadow Maw while teams of researchers monitored from a safe distance. "This test will prove whether your interaction with the creature was genuine or simply luck," Admiral Chun explained to Lisa. "If the creature shows aggression toward you, we'll extract you immediately. If it remains calm, we'll proceed with additional tests." Lisa nodded, though her stomach was tight with nerves. She had spent 3 days thinking about her encounter. with the Shadow Maw, as she was convinced that the creature had been trying to communicate with her, but proving that to the military officials would be much harder than simply sitting with the predator. Dr. Foster pulled her aside before the test began. Martinez, I need you to understand something. If this goes wrong, if that creature hurts you, it will be terminated immediately, and your death will be on my conscience for the rest of my life. It won't hurt me, Lisa said with more confidence than she felt. How can you be so sure? Lisa thought about the look in the creature's eyes, the gentle way it had touched her hand. Because it's not a monster, Dr. Foster, it's a person. The test chamber was a stark white room with reinforced walls and multiple cameras. Lisa entered first, wearing a simple uniform with sensors attached to monitor her vital signs. She stood in the center of the room, trying to project calm while dozens of researchers watched from the observation deck. The Shadow Maw was brought in through a separate entrance, still contained within a portable electromagnetic field. The moment it saw Lisa, its agitated pacing stopped. It sat down and looked at her with what could only be described as relief. Release the containment field. Admiral Chun ordered. The electromagnetic barrier disappeared, and the Shadow Maw was free to move around the chamber. Every person in the observation deck held their breath as the massive predator stood up and walked toward Lisa. But instead of attacking, the creature did something that amazed everyone watching. It lay down in front of Lisa and rolled onto its side, exposing its belly in a gesture of complete trust and submission. Incredible, whispered Dr. Sato. It's showing the same behavior patterns we see in domesticated animals. Lisa knelt down beside the creature and placed her hand on its side. She could feel its heartbeat, strong and steady. The Shadow Maw closed its eyes and began purring again, the sound vibrating through the chamber. Now for the real test, Admiral Chun announced. Martinez, we want you to see if you can guide the creature through a series of simple tasks. A section of the chamber wall opened, revealing a maze-like structure with various obstacles and pathways. Lisa looked at the maze, then at the Shadow Maw. I don't think I can just tell it what to do, she said. It doesn't understand human speech. Then, how do you propose to communicate with it? Lisa remembered her grandmother's songs. The news of Lisa's breakthrough with the Shadow Maw spread beyond the Academy faster than anyone had expected. Within days, representatives from every major species in the Galactic Defense Force were requesting access to the research data. The simple test that had started as a way to verify Lisa's claims had become the most important xenobiology discovery in decades. Lisa found herself at the center of attention she had never wanted. Reporters tried to interview her, scientists wanted to study her methods, and military officials debated the implications of her work. Through it all, she continued to spend time with the Shadow Maw, learning more about the creature's intelligence and developing better communication techniques. Commander Kethver called her to his office on a cold morning exactly 1 week after the first test. Lisa had never been in the commander's private quarters before, and she was surprised to find them filled with books and personal items that made the fierce Vraxian warrior seem more human. Sit down, Martinez, Kethver said. His voice unusually quiet, Lisa took the chair across from his desk, wondering if she was about to be disciplined for something. The commander studied her for a long moment before speaking. I owe you an apology, he said finally. I have spent my entire career believing that humans were the weakest species in the galaxy. I believe that your people had nothing valuable to contribute to our efforts. Lisa wasn't sure how to respond, so she remained silent. But what you have accomplished with the Shadow Maw has forced me to reconsider everything I thought I knew, Kethver continued. You have shown abilities that none of our most experienced researchers possessed. You have proven that strength comes in many forms. Thank you, sir, Lisa said quietly. Kethver activated a holographic display that showed a star map of the Outer Rim territories. There's something I need to tell you about the creature you have been working with. Something that will help you understand why your success is so important. The display zoomed in on a small star system near the edge of known space. This is the Kethmora system, where the Shadow Maw was captured. 6 months ago, this system was home to over 2 billion sentient beings across 4 different worlds. Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. Was? The system was attacked by an enemy fleet that we believe came from beyond the galactic rim. Every world was destroyed, every city burned, every living being killed. We found only one survivor. The holographic display showed images of devastated planets, their surfaces scarred by weapons that had turned entire continents into glass. Lisa stared at the destruction, trying to comprehend the scale of the tragedy. "The Shadow Maw," she whispered. "Yes. The creature you have befriended is the last member of its species. It watched its entire world die, saw its people destroyed, and was left alone in the universe. When our ships found it floating in the wreckage of its homeworld, it was nearly dead from starvation and radiation exposure." Lisa felt tears forming in her eyes. She thought about the sadness she had seen in the creature's green eyes, the loneliness that seemed to surround it like a shadow. Now she understood why it had responded to her grandmother's songs about peace and comfort. It was a refugee, just like her grandmother had been. "Why didn't anyone tell me this before?" she asked. "Because the military classified the information. They were afraid that if people knew the truth about the Shadow Maw's origins, they would see it as a victim rather than a weapon to be studied." Kethfer leaned forward, his yellow eyes intense. "But you saw the truth anyway, didn't you? You recognized its pain without knowing its story." Lisa nodded, thinking about all the times she had felt the creature's sadness and confusion. "It's not a monster, it's just lost and alone. And that is why your work is so important," Kethfer said. "The enemy that destroyed the Kethmara system is still out there. They have weapons we don't understand, and they seem determined to destroy every form of life they encounter. The Shadow Maw may be our only source of information about them." Lisa felt the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. "What do you need me to do?" "We need you to help the creature communicate with us about what it saw during the attack. But more than that, we need you to train others in your methods. If we're going to survive what's coming, we need to learn how to work with alien species rather than simply trying to control them." The meeting with Commander Kethfer changed everything for Lisa. That afternoon, she returned to Lab 7 with a new understanding of her role and her relationship with the Shadow Maw. When she entered the chamber, the creature immediately sensed her emotional state and approached her with gentle concern. Lisa sat down beside the massive predator and began to hum one of her grandmother's songs. But this time, she also began to speak, telling the creature about what she had learned and trying to convey her understanding of its loss. "I know what happened to your world," she said softly. "I know you're the only one left. I'm sorry for your pain." The Shadow Maw listened intently, its green eyes focused on her face. When she finished speaking, it made a sound unlike any she had heard from it before. It was a low, musical tone that seemed to carry all the sadness and longing in the universe. Lisa realized that the creature was singing to her, sharing its own melody in response to hers. She listened carefully to the pattern of notes, trying to understand what it might mean. The song seemed familiar somehow, and after a moment she realized why. It had the same structure as the lullabies her grandmother had taught her, the same rise and fall that spoke of loss and hope. "You have songs too," she whispered. "Your people had music, just like mine." Over the following weeks, Lisa worked with a team of linguists and xenobiology experts to develop a formal communication system based on musical patterns. They discovered that the Shadow Maw species had used complex harmonic languages that conveyed emotion and meaning through sound rather than words. Dr. Foster, who had initially opposed Lisa's work, became one of her strongest supporters. The loss of his research partner had made him bitter and afraid, but watching Lisa's gentle interactions with the creature helped him heal from his grief. "I was wrong about everything," he admitted to Lisa one evening as they reviewed their latest communication breakthrough. "I let my fear and anger blind me to what was really happening. Rachel would have been proud of what you've accomplished." "She was trying to do the same thing, wasn't she?" Lisa asked. Dr. Foster nodded. "She believed that the creature was intelligent, that it was trying to communicate. But she was working alone and she didn't have your grandmother's songs or your understanding of how trauma affects behavior. The breakthrough came when Lisa was able to help the Shadow Maw share its memories of the attack on its homeworld. Using a combination of musical communication and gentle encouragement, she guided the creature through its traumatic experiences, helping it process its grief while gathering vital information about the enemy. The images that the Shadow Maw shared through their mental connection were terrifying. The enemy ships were unlike anything in the galactic databases, with technology that seemed to bend the laws of physics. Their weapons could destroy entire planets in minutes, and their soldiers showed no mercy to civilians or children. But the most important discovery was that the enemy could be defeated. The Shadow Maw had seen weaknesses in their technology, patterns, in their attack strategies that could be exploited. Most importantly, it had observed that the enemy feared creatures like itself, apex predators that could phase through their defenses. Admiral Chun arrived to review the intelligence that Lisa and the Shadow Maw had gathered. She spent hours studying the data, her expression growing more serious with each revelation. "This changes our entire defensive strategy," she announced to the assembled researchers. "We've been preparing to fight a conventional enemy, but these beings use tactics and weapons we've never encountered." She turned to Lisa, her expression respectful. "Martinez, I'm promoting you to Senior Xenobiology Specialist, effective immediately. We're also transferring you to the Deep Space Research Vessel Aurora, where you'll lead a new program focused on interspecies communication." Lisa felt overwhelmed by the sudden change in her status. Just months ago, she had been a failing recruit that everyone expected to wash out of the program. Now she was being asked to lead research that could save the galaxy. "What about the Shadow Maw?" she asked. "The creature will be coming with you," Admiral Chun replied. "It has volunteered to help us prepare for the coming conflict. In exchange, we've agreed to help it search for any other survivors of its species." Lisa looked at the Shadow Maw, which had been listening to the conversation from its place beside her. The creature met her eyes and made a soft sound of agreement. For the first time since she had known it, the predator looked hopeful. Jake Morrison and the other recruits who had mocked Lisa gathered to watch as she prepared to leave the academy. The young man who had once dismissed her as a failure now looked at her with a mixture of respect and envy. "I guess we were wrong about you," he said awkwardly. Lisa smiled at him. "We were all wrong about a lot of things. The important thing is that we learned from our mistakes." As the transport ship prepared to depart for the Aurora, Lisa stood with the Shadow Maw in the cargo bay that had been modified to serve as its temporary quarters. The creature that had once been considered too dangerous